Would you please recommend a program that I can use to tap my fullest strength potential? Do you have one for sale? Isometrics, calisthenics, kettlebell sounds like a great combination. Thank you. Thank you for asking that. Hey, if you're new to the channel, thanks for stopping by. My name is Eric Moss. I'm a personal trainer, motivational speaker, and a modern day performing strongman. If you're unfamiliar with what a modern day performing strongman is, picture the strongmen of old. Legends of the past like the mighty Adam and Alexander Zass, they would perform real-life feats of strength as part of a live show. I do a similar thing, but with a modern-day twist. Some of the feats of strength I've performed in front of a live audience include things like bending steel bars, breaking chains with my chest, twisting horseshoes, rolling up frying pans, driving nails through wooden boards by hand, and even holding back a high-performance motorcycle while taking off at full throttle. Now, being a modern-day performing strongman and the fact that there's not a whole lot of us around these days to answer people's questions, in an effort to grow my YouTube channel by giving you guys what you want, as well as spreading the gospel and strength, I started a YouTube series called Ask Eric Moss, where I'd invite you to ask me a question by dropping it in the comments below. And when you do that, I try to get back to you with your very own custom video answering your question. Pretty neat, right? So this question comes from @YunPengDu, and they said, would you please recommend a program that I can use to tap my fullest strength potential? Do you have one for sale? Isometrics, calisthenics, kettlebell sounds like a great combination. Thank you. Thank you for asking that. Now, in terms of books about reaching your potential, there is my book, which I'll pitch later on in the video. But the first one that kind of really clued me in is The Power of the Mindset, which was a recommendation from my very first strongman mentor, the late, great New Jersey Superman, Greg Matonic. And he told me to pick up The Mighty Atom by Ed Spielman. You heard me already mention The Mighty Atom. Mighty Atom was a small strongman, but was able to do unbelievable things like biting through spikes and stuff like that. That book clues you in on the mind. However, it's no longer in print, so it's going to be very difficult to find. I think I paid $80 for that copy, but it was well worth it because it was a life-changing book, right? It was one of the ones that inspired my book. Now, that one clues you in on the power of the mind, but doesn't really have a whole lot in the way of training or a program. And even though you mentioned an isometrics, kettlebell, calisthenics-based program, that's not what I would use to realize and train up to your potential in terms of strength. Those are all useful tools, and calisthenics is fine if you don't really have access to anything else. But if you really want to access your potential, probably the best tool for that would be the barbell. And in terms of a program, the one that I would recommend you do in order to maximize your potential, assuming that you don't have any health risks or anything like that, remember these videos are for entertainment and educational purposes only. But when you asked me that question, this book wasn't quite out yet. Perpetual Strength by Paul McElroy. So a lot of people ask me about programming for different things, and they seem to think that I'm purely isometrics. Isometrics is just one component of what it is that I do for training. With Paul's views on cycling loads and volume and density and stuff like that, I get a lot of my programming ideas directly from him. His concept of comfort zone expansion, right, which is basically building the floor staying within your limits in order to expand your limits. Basically, you train in a way that allows you to surpass your previous capabilities without ever even realizing it. When people ask me how much my max is, I literally have no idea because I'm concerned with building it as opposed to testing it. I'll test my clients' maxes in the beginning, but that's pretty much it. And even when I'm putting them on a new program, it's like a soft max. It's not a true max. It's a max based off of their training numbers. So I'm going to read a quick excerpt from Paul's book. Where did I see that? So I'm just going to do a quick excerpt because honestly, this is a book that you're going to want to read and reread again, but I wanted to give you a clue as to the philosophy of program design that Paul uses and that I kind of use too. So he says, if you wish to raise the bar both figuratively and literally, you'll do it quickest by raising your comfort zone. That correctly, it wasn't a typo. I told you to train in and raise your comfort zone, not to leave it. Here's why. Now, one of the things with that is like in the takeaway of my motivational speech, when I'm bending a steel bar on the bridge of my nose, I do talk about pushing past your comfort zone. That is a specific time and application for it. That is on the stage. That is not necessarily to be in the gym. And unless you're performing on stage, you don't need to do that. You don't need to power through pain because pain is a signal to your body that something is off. And anytime you push the limit, you raise the chances of injury. So in the bullet points, it says, the height of a pyramid is directly proportional to the width of its base. Equally, the bigger your comfort zone is, the higher your limits are. So you can raise your max without testing your max, and you can raise your max year after year after year after year after year. He says also, it's way easier to gently raise the capacities of a comfort zone than it is to force up a limit. Pretty much what I just said. Because all your training must do to make you stronger is to be successful in lowering the rate of perceived exertion, i.e. RPE, or how difficult a set is perceived to be by the lifter of any load, and it will have been successful in lowering the RPE of every load, including your maximum load in a given lift. In fact, it's mathematically impossible to create significant numeric improvement at any percentage of a 1-rep max without improving performance at every percentage of 1-rep max, including 100%. Therefore, optimal programming involves microcontrol of all the variables and the manipulation of those variables in such a way as to create a bigger comfort zone. This programming lets the limit take care of itself. So if you want to maximize your potential, I don't recommend pushing through things that could potentially be injurious. I recommend following a program that will gradually raise it over time. Is it going to be quick? No, it'll take years. But where will you be 3 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now? A lot of times when people go into the gym, they go in all guns blazing and they either get hurt or they plateau and then they don't really go past the plateau. And bending steel can be about forcing past those self-imposed limits. But I like to train the body to be able to catch up with the mind. You see, when you train, your body puts into place various structures like muscle fiber thickening, bone density thickening, tendon thickening, all of which are there to prevent you from hurting yourself, right? And in doing so, become stronger in the process. And if you can get stronger without having to go into the crazy zone, then you're going to be that much stronger when you're up on stage and you do go into the crazy zone. And that is why I recommend this book, right? And that's also why I employ a lot of that in training myself. Now, in terms of, like, when I talk about programs, there are programs in here for doing this. And I'll just show you quickly one of them. So, like, you would plug in your numbers, and then you simply follow the sets and the reps outlined in the program for the bench, squat, and deadlift. And you could probably use that for a variety of other lifts as well. So in terms of the programs that I would recommend, if you can get access to a barbell, that would be the one that I would probably recommend you do in order to maximize your potential, because he does seem to have cracked the code on superhuman secrets, the secret to getting superhumanly strong. And although you can get there to a certain extent with your mindset, and training isometrics does help too, a more reliable approach would be the numeric progress like that. So anyways, I hope that answers your question. If anybody else has any questions for me, drop it in the comments below and I'll try to get back to you with your very own custom video. But if you like this video, let me know by hitting that like button. If you want to see more of this sort of thing, or you want to see the chronicles from my various performances across the country, subscribe to the channel. If you think anybody should see this, please share it with them. This YouTube thing isn't rocket science. And if you want to support the channel, do all the things that I just mentioned. That sort of thing does help me get found by the algorithm. And you can also further support the channel by doing a super thanks. That sort of thing does help out. And you can also support the channel by picking up a copy of my book. This outlines my story becoming a modern day performing strongman, as well as some of the things that I've learned along the way that allow me to do the things that I can do. And it's also a fun read. I know a lot of people who have read it, they just loved it, whether or not they have any interest in strength training or not. So anyways, that is it for today. Stay tuned for the next video. And in the meantime, please stay happy, healthy, and strong. Eric Moss, over and out.